niches make riches, right?
Yeah.
Like be as niche as possible. But with the cool thing with social media, and like you don't need to know a lot about anything, but know a little bit about a lot. Also understanding what these algorithms are. Let the algorithm tell you.
Exactly.
Like post it, and if it doesn't get engagement, it's because people were turning it off before 3 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Born to Tint podcast with the Miller Brothers. I'm excited to be here with my big brother, Josh.
How's it going, everybody? Today we have a very special conversation for you with Lindsay with Expel, the West Coast Territory Manager. We talk a lot about flat glass and what's going on in the industry. Check it out.
No, this has definitely been a learning experience.
Definitely.
Going through it, but it's been enjoyable.
It's good.
Every time we have someone from the industry on, like it's not so much there's that much prep work, especially because I know exactly where I kind of want the conversation to go. For you, it's very easy, flat glass, and just talk about the industry when it comes down to it. Like you're saying that you're seeing a heavy security presence,
Huge.
and so like almost the markets are almost identical right now. Then.
Yeah, huge.
Because that's all seeing majority in the winter security.
What area are you in?
I oversee the West Coast, but I'm in Phoenix. My home base is Phoenix.
Okay.
Which is, I feel like a lot of similarities, some parallels to Las Vegas as far as development and growth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
After the pandemic, it's changed drastically.
Yeah.
Non-stop
Yeah.
when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster ride. Last year was a technical down year. I think that was just more unfortunate negligence on our part.
Okay.
Not paying attention to our ads. Like because of the extreme growth in the all the jobs from 21, 22, it kind of just set us up for the fact that we got complacent.
Yeah.
So
we expected to see 30% growth, and then the macroeconomics of like interest rates being up, like early on in the year, we're like, oh, we're just seeing a downturn because not as many people are buying houses, and then we didn't really dig into looking at the marketing, and we kind of attributed to being a little bit slower to that, which probably it was some of that too, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But luckily, it allowed us to dig in and find holes in our marketing and where was our money going, and make those adjustments. So
let's be real. I don't think anyone was really prepared or really knew what to expect. It was all this big gray area, and I think that people expected, like you said, the downturn, but it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it made no sense. 21. I mean, tail end of 22, 21, 20, in 22 made no sense. Like, I mean, I guess obviously with printing money, it should have made sense.
Right.
That everyone had money just to throw out and spend, and people started working on their homes, and then the housing market's just going absolutely crazy. I mean, when the interest rates were what they were. And then, if anything, I can actually now I think about it, last year's interest rates, it going down, does make sense, obviously, for the downturn, but it makes sense for right now, for everything going crazy, is that people that are in their homes are like, well, I'm not moving anywhere because there's no way I'm moving away from a 3%, 4%, even a 5% interest rate. When you go to an 8%, like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to stay right here until things start to evenly, keel out.
And now we're seeing some of the new home builders, they're coming out with packages where you can start out with 4% and it slowly creeps back up. That's where I think we're going to, a lot of the new home builders out here, I've had a couple customers tell me that. So they're offering, I think Lennar is one of them that's doing it in certain communities, where they're buying down your rate for the first couple years to get people in the door and to buy the home. So that's like been the counter I've seen to the higher interest rates. The home builders are supplementing, all right, we got to sell these homes.
Got it.
Well, the market's still going crazy. I mean, that's biggest problem. I mean, I think that you could agree with in our industry, and even within construction industry, is labor.
Yes.
Isn't
huge. It's such a huge challenge for everyone. Retention, finding it, finding that, it's not a dying trade. I don't want to say that because it sounds so negative, but a lot of the older guys that are retiring off, and the newer guys having different work ethics, but then also attention spans to keep them.
And opportunities. Like growing up right now, everybody knows they have an opportunity to just create a YouTube channel on some hobby they have, and they could effectively turn that into a career. Like,
absolutely.
People like to look down on that, but there's a lot of people doing that. We've had several customers. I had a customer not that long ago that he started doing like van life videos of a YouTube channel, and along that journey he had a video go viral on YouTube of him making solar panels for the way he was living. And then he pivoted to only making solar content. Now he owns 3 big giant homes here in Vegas. Vegas, and he has I think millions of subscribers for his channel that's all about how to do DIY solar. And
He figured out his niche.
Yeah, so like that's
How long ago did he start though?
well, I'm not saying he did it overnight.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
though,
it's
is
just the fact that that is an opportunity that
it
didn't
is,
exist.
and it's an opportunity that I could have went pro in baseball or
Yeah.
in the NFL, but that was never going to happen.
But I'm saying there's so
Exactly.
many niches
a
like that
lottery.
now.
it's a lottery.
That's
Yeah.
Even with the influencer thing, it's still a lottery.
yeah,
when
you're
it
still
comes
gonna have
down
to put work into it.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, if anything, we lean into it because we're leaning into it for our business.
Yeah.
Right.
Is I'm just trying to expand our reach of our company, our branding, and then expand the knowledge of a part of our industry, flat glass, architectural, residential, commercial. Expand that knowledge because a lot of people don't know you can even do it. I mean, that's the biggest
Awareness.
The biggest thing that we've seen growth wise when it comes down to it is us leaning into that. I mean, doing this podcast was solely to grow that part of the market for us, because when it comes down to it, instead of fighting with everyone else about, oh, let's try to fight over this customer, I want to create more customers. I want to inform everyone like you can do this. I mean, is that down in Phoenix, is that necessarily something that you see? Like, not that people even know you can do flat glass?
Oh, absolutely. It's been, my whole background has been watching a lot of people go, I didn't realize that was an option, or I didn't even realize, from a consumer standpoint as well as a professional standpoint. You've got the auto guys that go, maybe someday I'll pick it up, until their back is hurting when they're in a back window and they realize that's their retirement plan, or they just don't want to put the effort in because it's not what they know. It's out of their comfort zone.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of it is it's awareness as well as grit, and you got to have both.
Yep.
And education is a little bit more in depth when it comes to flat glass because there's so much more safety element to it, and not a lot of guys want to go through that. So
sure.
I see that's a huge hurdle.
We even have installers that are automotive tinners for us right now that like the opportunities there. Like if you want to come over to the flat glass department, and it's like, I kind of want to, but
Yeah.
I'm so comfortable with how much I can make tinting cars right now. Like I kind of would rather just keep tinting cars while
100%.
So yeah, I could see that across the entire industry. The cool thing of what we were just talking about earlier though, like the opportunity, I was saying that there's tons of opportunities out there for all kinds of stuff, including like making content or whatever, but there's a huge opportunity in all the skilled trades. Like you were talking about, I don't think it's just the window film industry that's missing
every industry.
skilled labor.
Yeah.
It's a huge gap that's been popping up for the last 10 to 20 years. You got all the boomers
Right.
kind of retiring out of all these skilled labor jobs, whether it's
Yeah.
electrician, plumbing, AC, whatever it might be. There's a lot of them retiring every day.
Yep.
There's a lot less young people even interested in doing that job, because those generations I feel like did have to have more grit and tenacity.
Absolutely.
And like the world's a totally different place than it was
Absolutely.
50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And like the pool of people we have that are even growing up with those values
Yep.
and the ability to realize that like, hey, I might have to
Gotta work for
really
it.
hard.
Yeah.
And the idea that you can just record something and go viral is it's appealing.
No, absolutely. But also, too, unfortunately, I think we also had a generation that was not forced, but was told, if you want to go further in your life, you have to go to college.
Right.
Which
Right.
couldn't be the farthest thing
so
from the
true.
truth anymore.
Look at the movie Office Space. That's actually one of my
Yeah.
favorite parts about that movie is he ends up being totally happy doing construction at the end after being miserable, forced into this peg that he was told he had to go into being in the office.
Yeah.
It's like, I really enjoy going out doing installs. I'm doing sales right now and I enjoy that too. But I do enjoy going out and doing installs. And at the day, actually, when you're busy and you've got a decent sized house or a commercial job, the day slips away because you're
yeah.
so focused on what you're doing.
Right.
At the end of the day, you actually can see the results of what you did. You have a happy customer who they're actually going to benefit from what you just did.
Yep.
And you go home at the end of the day and you're physically tired. You don't have a problem sleeping at the end of the night
Absolutely
if you're a
true.
window film installer.
not. Yeah.
Like you don't have problems sleeping. You're going to
Yeah.
lay down or sit on the couch and fall asleep because
Yep.
you've actually exhausted yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge benefit to that. And I
There
think there
is,
is a
for
group of
sure.
young people that realize that.
Yeah.
And they're hearing
we-
these conversations.
Well, I mean, technically, our our most recent hires are that group of people. I
Yep.
mean, we just hired a new kid for flat glass, and I say kid because he's literally just graduated last year. He's 18
That's
years
great.
old. Before that, it was another. What Ricardo is 19.
I think so.
I think 19, so he's a year off of high school. And then you keep going further back. You go to our other two guys in auto. Actually, our entire auto crew is 22, 21. Is Raul 21 yet?
I should know that.
I think he's not. Yeah, I think
No,
he's
because we haven't taken.
Yeah.
Most of the time when they turn 21, we go out and we do like
Yeah.
a bar
Little
session. So
celebration.
I don't remember doing that for him.
Yeah,
so.
so he's about to crack the 21, and he came
That's
to us.
perfect, though.
Yeah, no, and he came to us right out of high school too, and it was one of those things where it's like we kind of got lucky in that aspect where
Yeah.
he was following videos
Roach.
online. Sean Roach,
Nice.
He's watching him. He was interested in attending. He went to two of our competitors, or should I say? No, I'm not going to say competitors. Two of the other businesses that do the same thing we do.
Okay.
And they pretty much like one laughed him out of the store, and the other one was like, "We don't got time." And I was
Wow.
like, the fact that you went to 3 different stores, I love, and the fact that you were looking online, like you're just interested in this, and he came to us with the right attitude, wanted to learn, and I
And
was
was
like,
persistent. He came back a couple times before
I
we
like
finally
that.
actually interviewed him.
I like that a lot. And that's such a great age too. If they have the mindset already, which you can't teach.
Yeah.
Once the mindset's there, you can mold them and groom them if they're a sponge and they're willing to learn. So that's the best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Our most recent hire, he was like, I did the interview with him, and like by the time the interview was over, usually I'll give myself the night, maybe a day to think about it, discuss it with him, discuss it with my sister. And by the time I got done with the interview, I was like, I'm usually would wait to call you back, but I just want to make you the offer.
Yeah.
Just because of what his ambitions were and what he wanted to do, and I made the offer to him, and like he took like a significant pay cut from where he was, but he's like, I have nowhere to go where I'm at. And it's just literally the corporate lifestyle. I was like, I see guys that have been here for 20 years, they're still doing this exact same
Yeah.
thing. Their pay's went up a little bit and they have seniority. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want the growth. And then he saw, I think I was wearing a Mosey hat, acquisition.com hat. And he was like, do you like, work with them? I'm like, no.
Well, we did. We went to
Well,
the workshop,
okay,
and
okay.
it was actually game changing. So
Sure.
it changed the way I look at the business entirely.
Yes, but
Yeah.
like with that hat intrigued him. The fact I was like, do you follow Alex Ramon? He's like, yeah. And then we kept talking. And then I mentioned Brian Pineda, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's our business mentor. So like,
I love it.
Everything that he was already telling me and his attitude, everything, I was like, oh, you're good to go. Like
Well,
I made the offer, and like I
yeah.
think within six hours, I think it was, he sent me a text and it was like, I'm on board. Let's go.
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
All right.
I think that's the other part that we don't talk about as much on doing the content creation and what we've been doing for the last year on putting ourselves out there more. That it's not just attracting customers, it's attracting like-minded people that can now see the culture that we have and how we operate. And we have been getting better and better people applying that are like, oh yeah, they definitely been following along and they want to come work for us because they actually trust and understand who we are a little
Yeah.
bit before they even come in the door.
You put the culture out there, and
Yeah.
people that
It's
are
actually-
attracted, you're
Yeah.
going to get the people that you want.
Yeah, that's something that Layla Hermosi talks about all the time. Like you, like be very particular in who you're hiring and put that out there. Like
Absolutely.
you want to put as much effort into gaining new employees, new team members as you do new customers. You should put equal amount of times into both of those.
Oh, your people are everything.
because you can't grow without more people.
Absolutely.
and then, like,
We've got more leads than we can handle right now because we put time and energy into the marketing side,
Yeah.
and it's like we need more people
you
in
need
order.
people.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like those two are hand in hand.
Well, that was the thing you said culture wise. Like that is literally the one thing that I'm trying to, or we are trying to lean into the hardest is building the culture and having people come to work. Like, come have fun.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to go to work and be miserable. Like, and trying to find the niche for each person and what drives them, what's going to make them fulfilled, and what you can provide for them. Like that is probably the biggest thing I lean into now.
And I love that too, because I think people, it's any relationship, right? If people come for people, they stay for people, they also leave for people.
Yep.
And I think that when you put out your culture, your personalities, your beliefs, what you're striving for morally, I give props to you too, like putting out what you're doing every day to better yourself as a person. People that have that on their priority list too, you guys are already starting off more on the same page. And I think that's a huge thing too, as I look at, who am I working alongside? Are they going to think the way I think? Because we're going to vibe better. We're going to do better and have more success.
Oh, we literally, right before the pandemic hit, we had an installer, install wise, one of the better installers that's ever worked for us, paying probably 400 or 500 square feet or more.
No, he's more than that. He probably put 800,000 up on his own. He's fast. He's good.
He
really
was
good.
fast. He was a good installer and would stay, get the job done, wouldn't complain, but there was other traits that like, I would say tolerable for a certain amount of time, and also too, I don't put it solely on him. I also put it on me. I was young, immature, bad leader in my eyes at the time when I was technical lead installer and all that. So I don't put it all on him. But when it came down to it, it just finally got to a boiling point of like, dude, I'll work 80, 90 hours in a week. I don't care. I just don't want to be around this anymore. And like soon as, and it was just more than just one person too. We had a couple of people that departed all at the same time. And it was probably the best thing for our company. You know, a nice smooth reset, in which I know for the most part, those people, I've had communications with another one I haven't, but I think they are both in better places now, and they both have moved on to better things, which is good. But it's like at the same time, like it's when it came down to the interaction, it was one of those things. It's like if you're that unhappy here, the door's right there.
Absolutely.
It's and that's just not more likely me just saying, "Oh, the door's there, you get out of here." It's no, like if you're that unhappy, I don't want you to have to be that unhappy every day. You should go find another opportunity that doesn't make you that unhappy. And it kind of is what it is.
And like you said too, comfortability. People will stay in things far longer than what they should for both parties, just because it's what they know, they're good at it, and they're just kind of going through the motions. But like the 19-year-old who sees the growth potential and sees what's in the future, those are the people that you want to invest in, because they're in it for the long haul with you. And scaling a business, those are the people that you want by your side.
Oh no, absolutely. We just actually, as of today, I made an offer to somebody, and he ended up he was already one of my friends. He is a good friend, but I got to know him. Maybe 8 years ago. It might be even longer than that. I might be short selling it, but he has kind of been. I've talked business with him, and he's been following kind of the same journey, kind of what I've done personally in my life to also what our business is. And same thing, he accepted the job offer. Like when I told him about it, like inside salesperson, he was like, I'm intrigued. And I was like, dude, come interview. Came in and interviewed, we talked, and he's like, dude, I might be taking a step back right now, but I know where you're going and I'm all in. And I just really, like before this even started, I had gotten a text message from him, and he was like, dude, 100%, I want to actually cut back 1,000% in. Please give me a call when you get a chance. This is the time and dates I can start, and like kind of laying out the whole thing. But it's like the buy-in is like, when it came down to it, he was the second person we made the offer to, only because we had someone else that he crushed the interview and just like made the offer, and it just ended up not working out. And that's fine. I'd rather it now instead of later. And it was just one of those things where it's like, I think I'm happy that happened, because I know who I have coming in, and I know how Body is into the culture and where we're progressing. And like, he's ready to hit the ground running.
This is exciting for me. So Jaybird's in.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know him too, and that's exciting because I'll be working with him directly every day. So,
well, and that's what's so cool too, is if you're speaking to the variety of the stuff that you do, and you have somebody that doesn't want to just be an installer. I'm coming just to install. They're kind of pigeonholing themselves into just that manual labor trait, and they don't see all the other opportunities. I love flat glass so much, because nothing against auto at all. It's as exciting as ever, because it's not my wheelhouse, but you have the bidding process. You've got talking to general contractors. You've got, all these different projects that all go to the same end goal. And you can either master every single one of those steps and be kind of the master of all traits, or work hand in hand with somebody who, this guy's been installing for 30 years, but I'm a good salesperson. You're both going to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Because the installer can learn, how can I better sell this job if I got to go bid this by myself? And then me, if I'm going to bid a job, I'm looking to my installer on, how can I kind of expand my technical vocabulary to make me sound smarter and better at bidding this job. So you can both learn from each other.
Oh, and even beyond that, you can even push that open to, what are the small little things you want me to grab information wise for you, so you are better prepared to go on this job and either get this job done more efficiently, or what's going to make your life easier.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that is probably because I did sales for a little bit last year, in which it's something I can do, and I point that towards, I can do it only because I've grown up in the industry. So I know the product. I know the industry. So when I talk about flat glass films, I talk with extreme confidence, only because I've been playing with the product up until installing the product, from a little kid to being a full, installer and all that, that it's very easy for you to have a conversation with somebody. But even knowing the installer side of it, like when I go on that project to measure those windows, I'll see things that like I know to notate, or that things are going to make my life easier as an installer. And it's like, I'm going to take a picture of that. Like take a picture of as many windows as I possibly can. Like if I see shutters that are really tight up on the window, I'm going to get the measurement really close and exact. And that's kind of like where our standard operations are now when it comes to anyone going out and outbound sales. If there's shutters, notate. If there's stuff in the way, notate.
Pictures.
I want to know.
Pictures.
I want to know everything that is going to be possible on the job. And like if someone from outside sales that hasn't been an installer, in their mind, like, well, why? It's like, because I'm getting myself mentally prepared for the job, and depending on what I'm going to bring with me too. And yes, I should technically I can bring everything, but if there's not a reason to load the entire shop in my van, I don't want to.
Efficiency.
I want to be as efficient as humanly possible. And if I know that your measurements are spot on, if not maybe an eighth over, I can now cut my pattern a 1/4 inch bigger on a film handler before I even go out to my job.
Exactly.
So now we're showing up to the project, film in hand, rolls ready to go. I just cut out an 1.5 hour, 2 hour process of cutting film in the customer's house. I'm not taking up a big area of their house. I'm not setting up a film handler in their house. Keep as much out of their home as humanly possible, and just send my guys in and then set the standard for my customer. Like, this is exactly how my guys are going to operate. They're going to come in, they're going to lay pads out, they're going to cover your window seals, they're going to then maintain the water as much as humanly possible. If something gets oversprayed, they're going to wipe it off, and then be able to set the tone for the customer, and then know that my installers are going to come in and do that exact thing. Like, having that knowledge as an installer, like, that's how we teach our guys. Like, this is exactly how we need you to operate from start to finish, because beyond selling the product, we're selling the service. We're selling the experience to our customer.
And look at how much business is repeat business or referral business. If, I have you guys coming in my home and I feel comfortable, I feel like you guys are professional, I love the job, I love, what I'm reaping the benefits of, I'm totally telling my girlfriend that wants to get her house, you don't even need to get another bid, go with Green Valley. So I think that, it's teaching them from a professional standpoint while also kind of getting their whole knowledge base expanded while they're learning, for the younger guys.
Oh, he started working for us when I was in high school, went off to college, injured his arm, unfortunately, came back and went to college for graphic design, came back, became our graphics guy. And from being our graphics guy, I then molded him into, or not say I molded him, we then gave him the training to do paint protection. Nice. And then from that, now he's taking over our editing, which it actually fits right in because he literally went to college for 2 years.
Jack of all trades.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it's now great thing is where he's at with editing and the content and everything, it actually goes right in with everything we've been trying to do.
That's perfect.
And I can keep everything in-house, which that's always been the game plan, is slowly evolved to keep everything in-house.
For sure.
But no, the question I did have was, what got you into flat glass architectural? When did that start?
So I think similar to a lot of you guys, most people say I fell into it, and I completely fell into it. So I went to school for hospitality, and my whole entire beginning of my career was in hospitality. So I started off working in the hotels doing events, and then worked my way up to a sales executive role. And at that time, my ex-husband, who I was dating, grew up in the film industry. And every day I left work, I would go out our garage. We had racks of window film. We had our film cutters. It was like I was always tripping over film. And it was kind of always in the background, so I knew bits and pieces of it. And I always heard stories and business conversations. His grandfather was the founder of IWFA. So I used to kind of sit side by side with him, hearing the lingo with a lot of the industry OGs. So long story short, I was walking a site tour one day with my client, who I found out was representing the vice president of China, first visit to the United States, looking at our hotel, and their main concern was security in the space that they were booking. And I, said, let me get to thinking about how we can help you with this. I'm sure we have a few solutions. I went home, said, hey, is there anything that we can do possibly to, promote this sale? And auto was all I really knew. So it was all auto film. And I basically got the golden gates open to me of the flat glass world. Grandpa took me in, kind of said, you go put this book on this engineer's desk, let him know we can set up a meeting, and then I'll teach you everything you need to know. And I'm thinking, all right, this is just going to be a background thing for me. All I knew was hotels is what I loved. But once I saw that deal go down, I saw the install happen, my wheels started turning. And I said, this could be a really interesting thing for me to learn parallel to what I'm doing, where I'm always talking to engineers, building managers, all that stuff. So Grandpa, I'll call him Grandpa, he brought me in to come walk the SEMA floors with him every year, and met all the guys that had been doing it for 40 years. He lobbied to make auto window film legal. He really kind of pioneered saying this is a viable industry. Yeah. And he said, better yet, next year, instead of just walking the floor with me, why don't we give you some time? I'll make you a segment of my breakout sessions. We'll call it the 212 program. And I said, all right, what's 212? And he said, have you ever read the book 212 Degrees? And I said, no. He goes, well, I'll just send you the video. You can see the video of it. Well, the gist of it is at 211 degrees, the water's hot. At 212, it boils. So all these guys that are so autofocused aren't seeing that one extra degree of what could boil the water for them. So after we scored that big project for the hotel, that security project turned into us doing window film on all their event spaces, putting out a bid for 1,000 guest rooms, and it just kind of snowballed. So he thought, maybe I can get you in here to talk to these guys to shift their focus and say, even if it's just adding me to a phone call, talking to an engineer, understanding their language, kind of their pain points. You guys know auto pain points. Lindsay might know some engineer pain points. So I started kind of doing these breakouts every year, thought it was fun. SEMA was great. Still didn't really think anything of it. And then we started landing contract after contract. To the point where I couldn't do both careers. And I just said, this might be my natural shift. So opened up an install company out in Southern California in Los Angeles in 2009. And then stayed out there for 3 years before going to Phoenix in 2013. Was happy as a clam dealing with installers and trying different products. And then the most recent product that I tried before leaving the install company was Expel. We kind of just kept lines of communication open. It was still a brand new thing where Expel was bringing in flat glass. And program director over there said, let's just kind of chat. And we built that relationship. And when people say all the time, what made you feel faith in being able to close down your doors of an install company, is we've all worked with numerous manufacturers. We all know what we like marketing-wise, product-wise, how product lays, how product looks. And I just saw a lot of faith in what Expel was doing with what they did with auto. And I knew that they were kind of duplicating that with flat glass. And it just felt right. And the investments, not only just in the product line and marketing, but their people, was something I hadn't experienced before. And I think, kind of being sidekick to Grandpa for a few years, I knew of what was a good company. And I felt good enough to say, all right, it's time to close the doors down to the install company. And then made the shift to working with the manufacturer. So it's been a fun and very unexpected ride.
What year did you close the doors and switch over to the manufacturer side?
I have been with Expel for just very barely over a year. So it's been about a year.
Nice.
So install company was, doing great, moving and grooving from 2009 until just last year.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I'm going to say I've kicked the tires on, but has crossed my mind of like the reason why we're scaling and growing. Of course, we want operations to get better. We want to be more efficient. Obviously, we want to get bigger. But at the same time, if I can ever provide, like for me, it's if it ever gets to the point where we get an offer on the company itself, with all the right, obviously, things being hit along the line of like I would never sell or entertain a sell of the company if I knew it was going to leave my employees high and dry.
Sure.
But if like the perfect scenario with the right buyout that I could set my parents up for life, I would be highly entertained. And then like the next area that I would want to start exploring is the manufacturing side. I've always seen the other side of the coin when it comes down to it. Do I think that'll happen anytime soon? Absolutely not. I'm enjoying too much what we're doing now, going from installer to like with our dad technically he pulled out of the company in 2020 to where it's now just me and my sister and my brother running it, and just the growth that we've now seen and we have now pushed our company too. I don't see anything right now that would make me want to go that route at the time, but that's definitely something I've always thought about, like exploring the other side of the coin and the manufacturing side, because I know the installer side of it. It's my life when it comes down to it,
for sure.
But I've always thought about what it would be like to be on the manufacturing side, just to see the other part of our industry.
I think too, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing negative about commitment to wanting to learn holistic, about the industry that we live in. And I think, I got to see it from so many angles, where we were cutting down rolls in the garage and slinging them to our dealers in our personal cars, all the way up to doing walkthroughs of potential manufacturing plants, where it's really nice, because I think no matter what, education is like everything. It builds confidence. And I think if you can speak to all parts of that process, it showcases that you're invested in that industry, and it showcases that you have a desire to learn all the parts of it. So good for you.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's definitely something, that big growth I think we've seen over the past couple of years. In fact, we've always went to different manufacturer meetings, competitions and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, as soon as you think you know everything, that's when you have a problem. You should never think. There should always be a learning aspect, like especially with all the technology that's changing right now. I mean, glass-wise too. I mean, I'm assuming that the Expel is projecting the same thing. I'm hearing across the industry within probably the next 4 to 5 years, exterior films are going to be that's going to be the main install, and almost majority of new builds, because of where they're putting the coatings in all these windows. The coatings are technically ripping away options from us, but as soon as you go to the exterior, your options are kind of wide open when it comes down to it.
I could definitely see that being a shift, just because, everything post-pandemic, it's either people are cutting corners, they're trying to manufacture things. I think the biggest thing for us too is, as a rep, saying education is so key, because the things that we can't see from the naked eye when we're doing a walkthrough, and we don't set that expectation to the customer on what could happen, that's your business name out there. And it's just the sales process is showing that you know your stuff. But the glass that's been coming out has not been very fun to work with. It's making, I think, a lot of installers' jobs a lot harder. But I always say, like everything, it's challenge. Where there's challenge, there's growth. And I think it's making them be a little bit more methodical in their process. So I guess if you can try to find the silver lining in it, but it still
I think
sucks.
It creates opportunities too, because honestly, we're testing everything with the Glass Check Elite now, and finding coatings on Surface 3 way more often than I thought I would, which is having to force us to pivot to exterior film, which has made me dive more into like, okay, well, like on a commercial job where their main concern is heat rejection, I'm gonna smoke an interior film, and I'm gonna have a comparable warranty. Like, why wouldn't I just start there anyways? Like, maybe the window system doesn't even need it, but I can show them like, hey, if we go exterior, you might lose 3 years of a warranty, or depending on the film you go with, you might be able to keep the same warranty. You might have a 10-year warranty with an exterior film, and have a teaser that's 10-20% higher than something comparable on the interior of the window. If your main concern is heat rejection, and now if it is a finished building and there's people moved into the offices and you got half walls and blinds and desks and like, now for the installers, other than the heat of the day, like, which, okay, cool, let's go do this at 4 or 5 in the morning. Nobody needs to let us in. There's nothing in the way, no blinds to come down, no furniture to move.
Exactly.
Like, and the installers actually seem, I know I as an installer prefer it too. Like, I'd much rather go knock out an office building on the exterior.
No one's bothering you. Just get your work done. I mean, you have to deal with wind and
that's been the
environmental factors.
That's been the biggest issue, is we have had to reschedule a couple projects because all of a sudden it was a crazy windy day. But now we've like massively learned from that, and we set the expectation. And all of my proposals, there it tells you right in there, and I go over with the customer. The only thing with an exterior install is I can't control the weather, and if the wind is over 8 miles per hour, depending on the size of your windows, we might have to reschedule. And everybody's cool with that. Set that expectation, and they're fine.
No one's let down. But I think even too, you're able to fill that hole too for the building engineer or the project manager that says, man, we're at that point. Are we replacing our glass, or are we going to retrofit? What are we going to do? And I think you can offer just what you said, plus a facelift to a building. So there's so many different boxes that I don't think a lot of new installers understand until they're in it long enough. But I think that's the shift. I mean, we just launched an exterior security film because there's a need for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have dual solar security solutions, but not every customer likes those shades that we have. If they don't have a VLT that they like, we can do a clear exterior, do an interior solar, and we're winning. From a business standpoint, you're making more money, and the customer is getting what they want.
Yeah.
So
Twice the square footage.
Yep.
Installers aren't going to complain about.
I just went on a proposal. My last one I went on yesterday was a school, and they were calling us out for privacy for the entryway. They didn't know security film was a thing. I mentioned it. They were like, "Oh, cool, yeah, definitely do that." Test the glass, Surface 3 coating. I was like, okay, well, this changes things a little bit.
yeah,
I can go an exterior dual reflective, get you your privacy, even better heat rejection, and I can put a clear security on the inside. So it was like kind of a variation of what you just said. And it was like, okay, cool. Well, we for sure want the privacy, so that already approved and is scheduled. And now we're going to talk about security, maybe even for the whole school. So it's like, yeah, like people
there's
just
opportunity.
there's so many.
everywhere.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you come across those curveballs, and yeah, it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but you're ensuring that you're actually providing what the customer's looking for.
Right.
And sometimes it does double the job, like, and they're totally okay with that because you educated them that, like, hey, lucky that it was me that showed up first, because somebody else might have just installed the solar control film on the inside of this window.
Just been done with it.
And been done with it, and maybe not be done with it because they might be coming back to replace some glass.
Exactly.
You know, so. Yeah, that's huge. I think that's a big part in my mind for us doing the Architectural Academy is not just teaching the techniques of tinning, but educating people on those things. How important is it to have a meter and to check your glass and not just eyeball it? I mean, if you really are trying to increase the profit your business is making, don't be stupid and not invest a little bit of money into a meter and check that glass.
100%.
Like one window could be the cost of the meter.
Yes.
One window, let alone a building.
Easily.
A building full of windows is gonna put you out of business.
And the bigger and the more ornate these pieces of glass are getting, it's even more dangerous. But I even say, look at it if you can't look at it from that regard yet because you haven't seen anything happen, look at it from it makes me look like I'm in this for all the right reasons. If I'm the second guy coming in on a bid and the first guy didn't have that and they're asking, well, what are you doing? You can educate them and you're already 10 steps ahead of the
I come across it almost every day.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you doing? And I'll explain, like, right, first thing I got to do before I do anything and show you any films, I got to check your glass and see what I can put on it.
Right.
They like almost look confused, especially if they've already had another bid. And then even for tax credit purposes,
yes,
I didn't realize till recently, and I've actually added it to our canned proposals. I haven't even talked to you about it. The tax credit being increased last year to $1,200.
Yep.
And out here, we're zone 3. Most of the films we offer, as long as it's going on to a low E piece of glass. So if I meter your window and it has a low E Surface 2 coating, especially triple silver, you automatically, with almost every film we have, qualify for the tax credit.
Yep.
So now if that's a $4,000 project, they're going to get a $1,200 tax credit. So now their net is actually only $2,800. Like, that's a big difference.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that pushes their return on investment much faster.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Well,
the
and if they
difference.
don't know about the opportunity, they're very likely, the end consumer barely knows about window film because they think it's just on a car.
Yeah.
So you're starting kind of at ground zero, building from there. And if they don't know all these opportunities, it's like, okay, they're metering, they're telling me what's safe, I've got a tax credit. All these things are opportunities. That's why I say, cross-selling is huge, because you've got the auto guy that's dead focused on cars, but every car has a garage that it goes into.
That's right.
It's like, what Expel did for our SEMA booth this year just had me so excited because it showcased so many cross-selling opportunities within window film.
Yep.
Yes, cars kind of paved the way, no pun intended, but there's so many other elements that spin off from that. And then you look at going into a bid on a residential customer. You're walking by opportunities every step of that process. And if you're listening, even better, because they're probably handing out pain points that have nothing to do with the current job that you're bidding. and you walk by another window that one doesn't really bother me, but we have landscaping out there and maybe you're noticing turf burn. I guarantee that customer has zero idea that there's a product that could prevent that.
Yep.
No, absolutely.
I come across that all the time. I actually had one recently. It was Airbnb. He was just trying to keep his energy costs down. We walk into a room that's like a master suite that has 2 French doors that open into the living room area that are completely clear. And as we're in there, I'm like, have you considered frosting these windows? He's like, no. Add that on there like immediately.
Exactly.
Definitely. It was like, okay. Turf, same thing. Be there they just want heat rejection. And hey, how long's that turf been in your yard? Oh, I just got it installed last week. Did they mention that it might melt from the reflection off this low E glass?
Yeah.
No. I was like, okay, well, I got to have a conversation with you. And they're like, well, thank you for telling me. And yeah, let's definitely add that on there. So that happens all the time.
All the time. And I think too, there's a lot, at least in the Phoenix market, because that's my backyard, there's a lot of landscaping companies that are becoming aware and now they're educating. That's a natural lead generation source that if that landscaping company is not asking for 1% of that business, that's free money.
We just teamed up with a company that thankfully it's starting to hit their market and they're actually starting to educate or at least tell their customer about it before they install. Okay. What we were getting for a little bit was people calling us to come out and they're like, I just had my turf installed. I need someone out here instantly. Mm-hmm. They're like, they just finished the job and they look at me and go, hey, you got to do something about those windows. Oh. Thanks. Have a nice day. And it's like,
or they don't say anything and they find out after it starts melting.
Exactly. And then they have to replace it.
Yeah. So we've got a couple companies we're working with now. One in particular is sending us a lot of work and they weren't sure if we'd be able to handle the amount they were going to send us. So they've been slowly trickling, adding more and more and more. And
that's awesome.
And they're trying to get us out there before it's ever even installed. And they're the one telling the customer like, look, before we even set a date for installing your turf, you got to have these guys come out and take care of these windows. And then that's like, they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they're spending $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on the turf. Like the cost to put the film on the windows is
nominal as far as protection goes.
And we're adding heat rejection and it's like all these other things, UV protection. It's like, okay, yeah, well, I have to do that.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. We're actually doing that. We're offering to companies like that are sending us leads like that. We're offering an affiliate program where we're going to give it. Yeah,
that's huge.
Now they're even more incentivized.
I mean, I don't care where the lead comes from.
Yeah,
you might as well. And it's one product. It's so easy. It's not like the installer or the person bidding is confused as to what to recommend. It's a straightforward recommendation.
Yep. I've been training a new outside salesperson for the last couple of weeks, and that's been a comment I've got from him. Is like, I could start going and doing turf ones on my own all day long. That's easy. There's one thing to show them. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what we're looking for. That one's easy.
Easy. Like, we have some dealers they've taken that as their sole business model. They're like, we're so busy doing that we just kind of said we're going to just do that for right now.
Yep.
And it's like, if that works for you and your business model, then absolutely go after it. I mean, there's enough business there just for that.
It's kind of wild. I wouldn't have ever thought in my wildest dreams 5 years ago that like the amount of film we're putting up to protect people's turf is crazy. It's just going up too. It's just like every month it's just more and more and more of it. So,
but again, that's also, it kind of challenges you to set the expectation, right? Because it's like, is there a guarantee? No, there's not. But this absolutely cuts out a huge potential for destroying what you just invested a lot of money into doing.
Is Expel ever entertained start testing to add a warranty to that?
Possible. We're working on an extended warranty program right now too, so that's been a main focus of us to offer more extensive warranty program. I know that as well as some of our decorative and specialty films are kind of piled into the more specialty warranty, but I don't know specifically to turf film just yet. No, it's been a lot of just us gathering. Are we seeing a massive success with this? Which we have. Is there still that potential? Yes. So as you guys know, from a liability standpoint, it's just us outweighing risk to benefit. So I don't have an answer on that yet, but I'm sure that they'll be putting that in the focus.
I'm assuming most of the manufacturers are going to start keying into that just because the market's there. Mm-hmm. Like it's not going nowhere. I mean, at least in Vegas, like you can't put grass on a new home. It's against code now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Even in the backyard.
Even in the backyard.
Wow.
See, I'm hearing two different things then, because
that-
I'm hearing that from.
I think there might be a
customer.
date that changes.
There was a customer that he put turf in his backyard. He put a small square of grass because he's like, I'm not having my dogs piss and shit all over the turf. I'm like, I don't care what they say to me, because when I bought my home in 2018, they told me front yard can't do. That is 100%. You cannot do anything in your front yard. Backyard, they told me 75%. From when
That could be
And
an
that's-
HOA thing.
I was going to
too.
say, is that HOA or
It
is
could
that
be.
city
It could be
specific?
HOA.
It was city specific when they told me. City, I mean, even where
I
where
could
this
see us going that direction.
That customer's home. The only reason why I said it because it was after he built everything, and they're like, oh yeah, you cannot. And it wasn't like a master plan community. It was like a small community of homes, semi custom built homes, and they told him you cannot put anything in the backyard. I think that was coming from water.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Because I know for Vegas wise, if you do have grass, the water company will pay you to take it out. They will pay you, how much is it?
I think it's like $5 a square
Yeah.
foot right now, or something like that. So that's the other reason why these turf companies they're crushing right now.
Yeah.
Like the one in particular that I'm talking about, they're apparently installing, like he said, 11 to 20 yards a week.
Oh, I bet.
Just that one company.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you even look at it too, as it's not just that straightforward, that home, that turf. You're having to look, is there a neighbor's window that's going to be
we've
affected?
done several of those.
Yeah.
We've had a couple different one of
Several
those
of
where
those.
where we go out and the customer's like, I need that window over there. They know you're going over there. I'll set up with them. Just tell me how much it is, and I'm paying for it. I'm taking care of it. But that window's screwing with my
We've
turf.
even had a couple of those where they've done that, and then the neighbor decides to pay to have the rest of the windows on that
Exactly.
side
I mean,
done.
that you fall into that.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I love that.
$5,000 $5 a square foot for the first 10,000. Jesus,
Wow.
they're really looking to knock grass out of. That's why all the big communities right now are not pulling grass. Like all the big master communities are pulling
Yeah,
grass.
so I got grass in my front yard. I bought an older home in an older neighborhood where almost everybody still has grass and trees and stuff. And I'm tempted, but I've got big
Yeah.
trees. And then the first couple of people I talked to were like, we can do it, but these trees are probably eventually going to die. And actually, Vincent,
that sucks.
Well, Vincent was telling me that he's got a way to do it where they can run drippers around the yard, and so like you're going to be watering your xeriscape
Yeah.
with drippers, but
Just keep tacking on the cost.
yeah, so it's it's interesting. But that's our biggest problem with water loss out here is
same in Phoenix.
landscapes, because everything that goes down a drain out here gets recycled
Yep.
and gets put right back in the lake. But as
Yep.
soon as you pour it on the yard outside, it's gone.
Yeah, good old fashioned Vegas and
I
Lake
know.
Mead, baby.
Desert living.
Yeah, well, this year it went up for the first time in a long time, so that's good. Hopefully, we can keep that trend going.
I just saw there's a boat exposed.
Is it going down again?
It hasn't been
Really?
exposed in a
I bet
couple
they
of
don't last
years,
long.
and it's like a landmark, like I guess boat. But they're now that it's exposed again, just like the tip of the boat's exposed. They're like technically that's a down boat. They actually need to pull it out, and they're now discussing if they're going to actually pull it out of the water or not because it's showing again. They're saying it's going to be showing for the next couple of years, supposedly. Which I just thought we just got record. I mean, we did get record water the past
Yeah,
year.
but that probably 2 years ago was completely out of the water.
I was going to say, was it about 2 years ago that you guys were really
Yeah, they were
struggling?
like finding like dead bodies from
Yeah.
the mob and stuff. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh, they're definitely there. There's no doubts about that. There are definitely holes in the desert that have been filled. That there's definitely bodies.
Well, hey, I mean, if we can take the other side of the coin, we have massive job security with our climate, so that's always a plus side too.
That was the main reason we moved out here.
Yeah.
92, we moved out here. And at first I've always thought it was because of the economic downturn.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it would make sense.
I
to
think
go from
that was part of
I think
it.
it was, well, probably was. Just maybe I don't remember.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it was, my dad was coming out here for vacations. And then it's just, it's 100 and something here. Like you tint your windows in Vegas because you have to, especially in your car, because you're not trying to. I mean, same thing in Phoenix too. It's like
No one's fishbowling.
yeah,
No.
you're gonna broil in your car if you don't do that. You have to.
Yep.
So job security when it
Yep.
comes down to California. There are hot parts of California. Every time I might talk to this about some people in California, like, well, it gets 100 and something here. I'm like, okay, you're on the inland part of California. I'm talking about all of the coastal area
Yeah.
that No one has to tint anything.
Right.
It's just beautiful constantly.
Yep.
So
unless we're talking about glare reduction and reflectivity issues.
There's still some products that can be sold in those areas.
Exactly. Different pain points for sure. I mean, then you look at the mountain states too, which it makes it a beast for us bidding wise with the elevation and safety, but it's nice because you can use like the intelligence products, like, you know, the Thinsulate that even though it's off the market, it's a dual property film. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody.
because they stopped producing that.
Yeah, so is Ecolux the only thing still out there?
I think so.
Oh, and then our all-season intelligence.
Oh, you guys got one too?
I was about to ask, does Expel have one? Because I know like you guys have dual reflective. You have the mainstays of
What color is that? Is it gold looking?
It's a very, very tiny, depending on the angle that you look, has a little gold sheen to it.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
Typically
That's the biggest downturn, unfortunately, with Panorama and Ecolux is that I had one job. These people had two windows that overlooked the entire valley from the south side and have a crystal clear view of the strip. And he ripped out his windows and put in, they are 69 inch by, I think they were about like 84 or 96 inches wide.
Yeah.
And he put like 1 inch thick single panel glass. To where it's like all the energy is just going like heat wise, bleeding everything in. And then in the winter, his big thing is like, I can just, the windows are freezing. And I was like, I have a product. I was like, downfall, you're gonna have to put a seam in this window. So you're gonna have to be okay with that. And then also like, as soon as I put the color up to the window, he was like, nope, don't care about the winter. I'll heat my house. And I put up our other film, I put up highlight and I was like, this will get the job done for the heat.
Sure.
Winter, it's not gonna do anything for you. So.
I would say compared to ones that we've seen in the past that seem to be very gold dominant, it's very, very subtle. Okay. So we're seeing a huge success from an aesthetic standpoint, and then performance. I mean, who doesn't love that? Especially, you know, it can't get cold here.
It's a difficult one to educate the end consumer on because I actually had a job in Boulder City recently that they wanted to cool the place off, and it's a bunch of single pane glass that's giant and it looks like it only gets afternoon sun. And it's like, okay, well, I can do really good for when you're getting sun for 3 hours at the end of the day. But your real problem why it's cooking in here is the U factor. And like trying to have that conversation and explain why this film costs so much more, but its teaser is only like 50 is like,
I know.
It's really hard to justify the difference if they're not really fully grasping the idea of ambient heat versus.
It's usually always the cost hurdle, which is why, I mean, I'm so happy that our team decided to actually do a price reduction on that for us because it's making it a lot easier to sell. But it was always a cost hurdle because they don't it's hard to even just educate on a basic solar film from a teaser standpoint. They're like, does it really work? Then when you're trying to sell both sides, it's tough for sure.
Yeah, because if anything, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Phoenix was actually probably the one market where Ecolux was thriving. Because, I mean, everyone associates Phoenix and Las Vegas with it's so hot. It's like, for 3-4 months, maybe.
But the dips in the winter, you get it. It's
and you got older homes with single pane glass. Like that's the real sweet spot for it. Is are you cold at all? And is there even the heat? It helps for. So when it's 115 degrees outside and you got a north facing window, that's helping 24/7. It's helping all day long. That's
the sell-on, and that's where you got to get past that hurdle of the price cost, and then letting them know, like, yes, solar film is going to do something for you, but like, how many times during the year are you really having a problem with solar? And then yes, you're going to recoup it, and it does cost a lot less. But you take this product that costs a lot more, you're going to have gains the entire year. This is 12 months of saving, not 4, maybe 5 months, if that.
Well, and for the 3 hours a day that window gets sun. So this film's gonna crush for 3 hours a day, enough to make a difference on your energy bill. This film's gonna make a huge difference. You know, single pane glass going from a U factor of 1 to 0.6 is like 40% reduction, right?
Right.
So that's huge, 24/7, all the time.
All the time. So, and I mean, I always say too, you know, you're always gonna have the ROI in, you know, a certain time frame. If it extends a little bit for that, because it's a specialty product, that's what you're paying for. But you're still going to get that, which is, you know, the end goal. So
actually for this bid, I actually even called up a glass person and gave them the dimensions of the openings and was like, how much would it cost right now at the current price of glass to replace just one of these 4 foot wide by 92 inch tall windows? And it's like, that's running, you know, once all's said and done, they're looking at like $4,000 or $5,000 a window to replace those windows. And it's like, well, I'm crushing that.
Starts looking like chump change.
Yeah, I'm crushing that. And I'm going to give you close to the same energy efficiency as that. Like,
and then you go even further with that. Like if you're retrofitting and not completely replacing, when you're pulling glass out of the building, you are technically doing some structural damage, no matter what. Like, doesn't matter how good the company is, you're still yanking something out and putting something back in. You are still doing structural damage to that building when it comes down to it.
You don't really hear that. A lot of guys don't even touch on that. So especially the glass companies, they just want the money. But you hear a lot of people that don't even touch on that when it's coming to comparative cost. I mean, yeah, you can say what the panel of glass is going to cost, but what are all the other elements?
Well, the job I'm talking about right now is a restaurant that's open, that's expanding, and it's like, okay, how long and how many days are you going to be shut down to replace all these windows compared to I can come in after hours and I can have this installed in 2 days.
Yeah,
that's another factor.
Like your time, like how many days of you not being able to be open because all your windows are being swapped out. Like that's huge.
Right.
So it's just a longer conversation and more education that's needed.
Exactly. And I think that's why I like flat glass in comparison to other parts of it too, because there are more moving parts, which some people hate, but I love that because it's more exciting. In the process, you don't think about those things because the person that's booking the job isn't thinking, oh, this isn't just an easy, you come and slap a sticker on the window. Well, no.
Those are always best conversations. Are you just squeegeeing something on there?
Yeah.
Sure, if you want to make it that simple and easy, I guess.
Yeah, we get those all the time.
Or the best one is, can I do this myself?
Yeah.
Like, oh my.
My favorite are showing up where they've already attempted to do it themselves and they left the one window on with the box of Gila laying on the floor with the little thing they tried doing it with. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this.
The Home Depot kit fix.
It's even better too. Majority of the time, those people, like, I mean, I tip my hat to them. Like, at least you attempted it. But I'm like, which one did you try? They're like, oh, that door over there. I'm like, oh, that French door. Like, you literally picked the hardest window in your house. Really? I'm like, yeah. I was like, me with that film, I would have got it done, but I would struggle with that film because it's so paper thin. Like if you actually had a product that was a nice product and one of the manufacturers and the right tools and not that window, because that is the hardest window you have in your house right now. If you would have picked one of these vinyl windows, you probably would have successfully got pretty close, because I've seen a couple of the windows. I'm like, it's not bad.
Right.
Or the even scarier one when they have the friction tint, and thankfully they picked the French door because it's just a smoke black static clean. I'm like, if you would have put that on any one of your windows, it's probably broken.
Bad.
Like, really? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so it goes both ways, but it's always entertaining how they always tend to pick the hardest window. Oh
yeah.
Oh, you do that sunburst? Okay.
Well, and that's when
that's one to start off with. That's a fun window right there.
Yeah, or wanting to add little windows. Can we just throw in that little window over there?
Like, yes.
Little windows are the worst.
The hardest window in this house that no installer wants to do. That was where I started my career. That's where for both of us. Yeah. We would go on house jobs with my dad, and he'd be doing everything else. And like the small bathroom windows, either by him being smart enough not to say like, hey, you don't need that one tinted, or just not wanting it done. He'd be like, hey, that bathroom window, I know it's not on the bid. Do you care if my son goes do it? I'll make sure it turns out like it's going to be acceptable. But do you care if my son goes do it? And I think probably I was like 8-9 years old at the time. And that's where I started my career, was doing those little windows and then being stuffed up in the cubbies. The little windows are hard to get to. And then I finally get to the point where I'm actually installing actual windows, 3x5s. And I'm like, wow, this is like 1,000 times easier. Like, awesome. So I've just been practicing on the hardest windows possible for the past couple of years. Okay.
It's the best way to learn.
No, it is.
And from a patient standpoint too, it's huge. I think because that's my weakness is patience, is I like to, be efficient, but you have to stop and be methodical. And I think if you are an impatient person and you want to strengthen, I think window film is incredible for that. Yeah. Because it forces you to zone in and be OCD and throw your headphones in and just, you have to be focused on the task at hand.
That's me 100% installing. I definitely have one earbud in, listening to a podcast or something, and I'm just focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
She drives him crazy because I'm definitely not the fastest or most efficient, but I'm focused on what I'm doing.
Perfection doesn't always happen quick, though.
No, it doesn't. Okay, and you can get faster even with headphones in and focusing. You can focus in and be fast at the same time.
I'm not saying you can't. That's not what I said.
It can, I think that's the one plus side. If somebody says I'm way too impatient for that, I actually think it has the opposite effect. I think it actually helps strengthen someone's patience.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. And as you get better and get more skillful with it too, it absolutely does.
Yeah, it's just like building some resilience, right? You have to
Yes.
go through some tough times to build resilience. And
Exactly.
Yeah, all the little 12-inch by 24-inch windows.
Well, and I
over
think
and
too,
over again.
and like you said, people think they have the reverse thought on what's easy. People will think, oh, French paint is smaller, just cutouts, which is completely the opposite. It's the same way educating brand new dealers that are going, hey, I just got my first bid for security film. I'm so stoked. And I'm like, okay, did you do any training? Do you know how to do an attachment system? No, I'm just going to wing it. And I'm like, that is one that you do not want to wing.
Yeah.
Because I can promise you, you're going to be in the hole on going back and fixing it. And even then, you'll probably mess that up.
Well, and it's not going to be secure at all.
Exactly.
I can't stand when I was going on bids, and even I hear it from him too.
Yeah, I'm still coming across it, and it drives me insane.
Oh, you get told by the competitor that the attachments, those are optional.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, no, that's not optional. Do you want that to be useful? I'm like, we won't tint that window unless we put silicone on it. Like, I don't care if you say you don't think you need it. Like, you need it. I'm not putting my name on this project unless we put that silicone on. I understand it's an added expense. It sucks, but at the same time, it will be pointless if you do not put that silicone attachment on there. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
I've been
making no
hearing
sense
that
at all.
way too often. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to go do it and just say that it's optional until I learn. And it's your name that you're putting out there too. It's like one thing we can't control is what? Mother Nature. We can't control how the sun's going to act. We can definitely control how the film's going to perform when it comes to security. So it's all awareness with these new guys that are starting out and just kind of saying.
Well, it's also
gotta
the
do.
long game with that too. Not them thinking like, well, I could get away with this. Okay, sure. If you keep doing that over and over again, eventually someone's going to get screwed on that. A customer is going to get screwed where they think they're secure. Someone's going to break into their house, and all that does is leaves a negative ripple in our industry to where it's going to spread from that person to where that stuff is useless. It did nothing for me. I still got broken into. They got straight into my house, and then it's like, well, what was installed? Did they do this step? Well, no. Well, you didn't get the right experience, and I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah.
But they look at that short-term goal of like, well, I just sold the job. I just made this amount of money, like, which is great. Good job. But you just hurt our industry and the likelihood of people actually believing that our film will do what we say it does. And then also don't over promise, like call it for what it is. Like, it's going to buy you time.
Yes, exactly.
And it is just an added step to buy more time to either for you to protect yourself, you to call the cops, your alarm to go off, to create more space for you to get your family to a safe spot in the house or be able to protect yourself. And that's what it is. Like, when I hear like people say, oh, that's like that bullet or
The bulletproof.
Oh God.
I know. And but again, it's just, I think people get annoyed by that, and it is frustrating. I won't discredit that, but I see it as an opportunity to, like you said, up the ante in the industry. Yep. You have to teach people, and that includes the end consumer. That doesn't exist yet. May in the future, who knows? But we have something that can buy time and deter someone, and we have surveillance videos showcasing that.
Yep.
So they can't see it to believe it, and I hope to God that people don't have something happen where they can see it, but we have videos to show the people that had the misfortune.
The one product I hate selling and installing, safety film.
Yeah.
For that sole aspect, that it's being sold completely off fear.
Yep.
Like, you're in your own home and you're afraid to be in your house, so you have I have to put this on my house. Like, it could be something that someone's like, I can't technically even afford this, but I'm going to do it because I'm scared to death to be in my house because my neighbor just got broken into 2 doors down.
I know.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm happy I can provide something for you, but I hate the fact that it's solely sold off of fear when it comes down to preventativeness, which, kind of is what it is, but at least we're able to offer that to people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, from a humanitarian feel-good standpoint, but you look at it like we are doing more bids on schools, which should be the last place that we should be discussing this. But, from a business standpoint, there's a huge opportunity there with all these states having the mandates and this grant money being given. It's a huge opportunity for dealers to go in, showcase professionalism, cash out on that while protecting. So it's like, if you can benefit from a downturn in our society, at least you're helping.
No, yeah, and that's the biggest thing. We have the content we've put out of us doing a school or us talking about it, and of course all the comments in it just totally rag on the fact that you're just trying to take advantage of situations. Like, hey, dude, man, I have a 5-year-old. I send him to school every day.
Yeah.
Do you think I enjoy the fact that I'm already like I want to contact that school and be like, all right, you guys. Can we do something here? Like, so I know how fast you can get through that glass instantly. Can we put a barrier? What is your guys' plan? Beyond them not getting through that window, what's the plan? Like, I'm just trying to be as preventive as possible to help protect my son and everyone else's kids too when it comes down to it. Like, it's not like we're sitting here enjoying like, we're reaping the benefits of this. Like, get the hell out of here.
I know. At least you have a solution.
Yes.
Exactly.
And if you have another solution, instead of just being a keyboard warrior and sitting there typing away about how I'm trying to take advantage of a situation, what solution do you have, dude? Like, what can you provide? Should we just put bars on all of our schools? Oh, yeah, that's great. Let's just teach our kids to live in fear the entire time with bars on the windows. Like, I'm okay with that.
Exactly. But there's always going to be a naysayer. You know?
Oh, yeah. They just help drive engagement so more people will see it.
Hey, I usually like it. I love those
There you go.
So.
Exactly. Relative content.
Oh, hey, please engage with your nonsense. You have all the time in the world to sit there and type this out. I'm going to at least poke and prod with a like or something or some kind of comment in the fact of like, if you're going to keep driving the engagement, sure.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's going to bleed off to someone who actually does care and realizes that sees what we're trying to do. And we're just trying to offer a solution to help people feel safer and also again, buy time.
Yep.
Biggest thing is time. With any situation like that is time. How much time can be bought so the police can get there and actually do something about it, So.
Or if you have to flip the focus and you focus on more of a commercial development standpoint, you can say, well, I'm protecting condo high rises, people's homes that sit above retail space, so I can offer a dual concept to these properties and shift the focus. Unfortunately, we live in a world of consumption, so if they don't want to focus on the sad reality of our world, then they can relate to that, know? So there's always a way you can kind of flip the conversation, which is a plus.
No, absolutely. What are you going to do? There's always going to be people saying stupid shit, unfortunately.
Exactly.
That's definitely not going away.
No.
That's just getting ramped up.
But I mean, like you said, it piques interest. I mean, I even look at, I love Carlos over at Texas.
Yeah.
He's over there making videos of using security film to cut a steak. And it's like, the hits on that are ridiculous.
That was actually, I can't believe we didn't think of that. Of course he did. It's genius. Because I've got so many scars on my hand from security film. It's insane. You can't touch that stuff without being cut. Of course you could cut a steak with it.
But it makes people think in a different way that's like, wait, what? This goes where? And you're cutting a steak? It just opens up a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's crazy on stuff you would never think of an approach that people eat up.
Oh, I know. That's one thing Carlos is crushing in. Like, even with like Tinder battles and stuff, like how the videos have popped. Like, thankfully, we were lucky enough to be in one of those videos where all of a sudden, like when it first popped at 500,000, like he sent me a text and he's like, dude, you're becoming a star. And I was like, I looked at him like, holy hell. And then all of a sudden, like, dude, day or two later, 2 million. 4 million. I'm like, oh,
I know.
And then all of a sudden it's at 12, 14. And then beyond that one, he posts one of Marcus doing a squeegee battle.
Yeah.
That one started a little slow. And then all of a sudden, I think it's at like 60 million right now.
It's crazy.
The awareness he's bringing to our industry, like after that event, finally going to it and then seeing that content pop and how he's slowly tweaked every event to try to test out like, all right, what if we were to do it this way? What if we do it that way? And now doing it like the more live stream, almost like technically a sporting event when it comes down to it, to capture as much content as possible. And then if you actually look at the whole event, like, yes, the initial competitions to get in are focused on certain areas, but then when you got to the final competition, it did come down to quality. I remember Marco
with a gimmick of windows hanging on chains, which I did not expect.
Exactly. It's like out of left field, but engaging. It's almost like that I have to stop and look. Yeah. It works.
Oh, it 100% worked. And like for anyone to say like, well, it was not quality. Like, believe me, I watched Marco go over our window for the finals and he left no stone unturned. Like after him grading like one side of my window, I was like, and we're out. And I was like, we'll learn from this one, tried cutting some corners to buy time and be more efficient and stuff. And I'm like, that bit me in the ass. And kind of is what it is. But like, the competitions leading up to it, entertaining, fun, engaging, kind of going after it. And then after the final competition was solely built on the fact of like, how well can you install this film? And we're going to have 3 of the top industry professionals go through these windows like there's gold in there. Yeah. And they picked everything out.
Yeah.
They picked everything out.
Well, it's kind of nice too because it sets the expectation that it's gonna be fun and low key and all that, but then in the end, it's still serious, and that I think that's the engaging part. It's like if you were to start and lead serious, I think engagement's always low because it's just, there needs to be a piece that's exciting, and I think they've mastered that.
Well, that's why I need to start actually pushing for it now. I've mentioned it a couple times. I know it's probably leaked out a little bit, but telling the WFCT like 100% Carlos should be commentating that entire event.
Yeah.
That entire event he should be
let
commentating.
Entertainment broadcast it. Like I think that would be the move. That would be the move because like they've been in the past they wouldn't even let spectators record stuff because of fear of judge contamination or whatever.
Yeah.
They relaxed a lot last year and allowed the architectural judges to go and not be locked in a room the entire event and not be able to go look at the automotive side of the competition. And everybody agreed like, okay, cool. We actually don't think there's anything corrupt going on here. There's no incentive for these guys to vote for one person or the other. Like why would they put their reputation on the line for something like that?
4 days of their time to sit there and judge and go to a competition.
Yeah.
Right. They have no skin in the game.
And have fun and see their people too. I mean,
but like display what's going on there at this event as much as humanly possible. And I think that the thing that's why they've been slow to act on that is it started, I mean, Window Film Magazine, right?
Yeah.
They're a magazine. They're thinking print. Well, digital content is the new print, right? So like pair that up and see how many more eyeballs you can get on the industry through video content. Like you've got the perfect opportunity to record everything that's happening. And then put it out there.
Yeah. I mean, even just look at the shorts that everyone's doing. That has the highest engagement. Why? Because we're a quick moving culture. People are scrolling. But if you were to have an event and you think of how many of those you can do, that engagement time is crazy. So I think it's nice seeing people like that are upping the bar for what's creative, what's engaging, how are we going to think outside the box?
Oh, as that video popped, I was texting Carlos like, dude, I'm in. I understand. I get I understand your vision now and what you're trying to do. Like, dude, I'm bought in. Whatever you need, whatever, like if I can help in any way possible, dude, let me know.
I love that.
It's
I would be very interested to see if he's got the analytics on like when those videos have been popping and going viral, in what areas of the world, in what states. A chart of like Google search trends on home window tint or business window tint. Like I'd almost guarantee that's had an effect.
There's an uptick on that.
And it's not just affecting the people that were in the videos and tagged in the videos. It's like the entire industry.
Awareness.
Yeah, just awareness on the end consumer to even know that you can do that
100%.
has to be, because I've been doing this my whole life. I go on sales calls now, but installs up until recently, where people are like, man, I wish I had known I could have done this years ago.
That's always
all I
the
think
line
of
right
is cars. You hear it over and over and over and over again. So it's like, in my mind, the biggest opportunity in the industry right now is be the person putting out content, educating people that that's an option, and you're creating new customers.
And go in the avenues that you would least expect to be an avenue. And I think part of my buy-in with making the move from business owner to manufacturer was, what are they doing different? And there were so many things that they were doing different. And I think it was all this awareness standpoint of, we're going and creating brand awareness from a manufacturer standpoint in areas that manufacturers don't usually go in and say, hey, I'm here. And I think the one thing that really stuck out for me was even professions like architects need education.
Oh, yeah.
And when we became accredited with AIA to be right there next to the 3M of the world, who is the constant educator when it comes to architecture, we are going in doing these lunch and learns with architects who they had no idea. And it's like, oh, well, we see our specs, but they don't know all the elements that are in these specs. Let's teach you just narrow down to window film. And then those opportunities that stem from that too, that's an awareness level, I think, that you don't just get telling your customer who's getting their car tinted. It's, to the level of consumer getting their car tinted all the way up to the architect. And I think that awareness is huge.
I love the phrase coming out from you guys that I just think is so genius, and it makes sense coming from Expel. protect everything.
Protect everything.
Protect everything. Protect everything is so spot on for window film and for surface protections, paint protect, all these different products that don't realize exist that are part of the film industry.
So true. I mean, it's our SEMA booth in a nutshell. When I walk by that, I'm like, we have the garage, we have the kitchen, we have a bike rack, we have the cars. It's
the motorcycle, the boat,
it's everything.
Yeah.
And it's the things that people don't think of. Wait, that's in the same exact wheelhouse? And it's like, yes this all. Let me literally walk you through our home. And we're passing by the car, going into the home, and you're just seeing people's wheels turning. I had no idea that this spilled into all these areas where I could go and do one company like you guys, that you guys could do my car, you can tint my windows, you can come to my home, and then you can go and take care of my office too. So I think it's just it's a nice tagline to say there's so much more than just the basics.
No, absolutely. That's like, I mean, he's talking about like the short form clips and stuff, because that's the main reason for all this.
Yeah.
Is literally to have conversations with everyone throughout the entire industry, discuss what the points that we're all trying to grow in together, and then beyond that, create the small clips to create that trust with our consumer of them seeing that small clip, and they see it and as soon as they search once, it unfortunately flood their line.
Yeah. And
they see it over and over again. And then all of a sudden, if they backtrack to the conversation, it's like, all right, we got you on short form. Now you're to our long form. Before we even walk in the door, you already know us.
100%.
And it's like the trust is already there. Like, we're getting customers now. Like, we called you because you were on my feed constantly. And you're the only person I called because I didn't know you could do this. And it's like,
I've had customers that have been like, yeah, I've actually been listening to a couple episodes of the podcast and I didn't realize you could do this. And I was like, I knew that would eventually happen, but I didn't think it would be this quick. And especially with the view counts that we're seeing and the downloads, it's nothing like to blow your socks off, but it just goes to show you, like, this conversation's come up a couple times recently just because we're seeing it in our analytics of TintWiz, how much our leads have increased, our consultations, our sales, everything is just up. And our numbers on social and YouTube, all of these different platforms, they're nothing to like blow your socks off, but they're consistent and they're consistently growing a little bit. And that over time, that person that, didn't realize that in the summer, they just moved out here from California, say in the fall, they didn't realize how much the office they're working in because they work from home now is going to be cooking in the summer. And they've seen 15 of our videos and maybe listened to a clip of a podcast. It's like, oh, that's actually an option.
Exactly. And what's so cool about what you guys are doing is the archive is always going to be there. And even though if you see a number now, it doesn't mean it could skyrocket. Yeah. And it's like, if I knew nothing about this and I was going down the wormhole educating myself, I guarantee I'm probably pinning one or two of your videos that apply to me. And when I come to you for a consult, I'm showing you that. I didn't know you had this. Yep. So that number, I don't think is a set in stone number. It's always there to build and grow.
And the big thing, like we were just discuss it too. Like, people will go through and they'll cut out videos that they had posted. Well, that didn't perform well, so they'll crop it out of their feed. And it's like, why? Like, you're getting rid of a catalog of where no one says you're going to jump into doing this, and all of a sudden everything's just going to go absolutely viral and crazy. Like, who cares? Like, 50 people, 100 people saw it. That's 50 or 100 people that didn't see it. And like, even Carlos said, the video sucks, who cares? Let's go on to the next one.
Who cares? Exactly.
Why does it matter? And at least shows you how much you've been working on it, and you're consistent in the fact that if you work your social media like that, I'm assuming that you're going to look back and look at the company like, if this is how they operate, and like, this is where they were to begin with, and this is where they're at now, like, they are consistent. They went from here to here, and like, that's two different types of it. Like, wow, they've gotten so much better. You would assume they're applying the same thing to their business when it comes down to installing film and all that stuff.
Exactly.
When it comes down to
and fear is the only thing that's hurtling them, because it's like, I'll be the first person to say that I don't spend a lot of my time doing content and all of that too, because my focus is different. But could the benefit, double, triple? Absolutely. People just have to have the focus and not be fearful of, is this creative enough? Is this going to look good? Is this going to, because it's an always evolving. What looks good now might not be the trend in 6 months. And as long as you have your finger on that pulse and you're pivoting, it doesn't matter what was attractive 6 months ago.
No, that's why I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee. Like, he's opened my, I'm so excited he's going to be at WFCT this year.
I love him.
We're hopefully going to pin down. There's a possibility that we're going to be able to pin him down for a podcast.
Oh,
Maybe.
talk about good energy.
Yeah, so I actually have one of his NFTs because I've been into crypto for a while.
Yeah.
And the one that I still have, because I actually minted a bunch of them and sold them and made some money on them. But I kept the one that gives me a Zoom call for 1 hour, 5 times a year for the last 3 years. And we just finished the last one recently. But on the last one I was on, WFCT had been announced that he's going to be there. And I actually raised my hand and got to talk and was telling him that we're going to be there. And was like, hey, maybe we can get a podcast in. He's like, well, my schedule's kind of crazy, but maybe we can figure it out. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
I love that.
Hopefully we'll get to talk to him a little bit at his conference that's happening the summer before WFCT, because we're going to go to that. So yeah, but his outlook
us to go out to VCon.
Why I brought him up though was his outlook on social media and marketing and underpriced attention. Like, where's the underpriced attention? Like this week it might be Facebook or month or year or whatever, and keep your eye out. Look out for the TikToks of the world. He was preaching about TikTok like 6-7 years ago about how it was going to be the next big thing. But it's like also understanding what these algorithms are. And I think him actually talking about TikTok has been the one that really made me like flip my mind on putting out content and being worried if it does good or not. Yeah. Because TikTok's more like a interest graft. And I think everybody else kind of followed that path now with how Reels are working and YouTube Shorts, and let the algorithm tell you.
Exactly.
Like post it, and if it doesn't get engagement, it's because people were turning it off before 3 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, and it wasn't interesting. So now make more. And if you have something that pops, it might have been a freak accident. Like you just did something that worked. It worked. Now you take that and turn that into an ad.
Exactly.
Because the algorithm is showing you. That's your test. Like in the past, they would put boxes in people's house to see who's watching cable or not, whatever. Now you get the direct. Every time you post a piece of organic content, you're getting the test results immediately. How did it do? Okay, it held on to 90% of viewers for the first 10 seconds, and then it went on to get tens of thousands of views, which might be abnormal for you. Like, okay, cool. Something about this works really well.
Exactly.
Now take that and turn it into an ad and run it as an ad on Meta or TikTok or wherever, and see how well that performs. It's probably going to crush the thing you spent 2 months meticulously editing down and making. This is the perfect ad ever. We're just going to run it as an ad. Like, no, let the organic content tell you what to turn into an ad.
100%. Exactly. So, and I think too, like speaking to Gary Vee, he's outlandish, no fear, says whatever. And it's not always about the same exact thing. It can be completely opposite of what he just talked about. And I think that almost the switch up is what keeps people engaged, because they never know what he's going to do. And I think people get so stuck on, I have to create only what applies to me. And going back to Carlos, he said one of his biggest engagements was him holding that massive piece of bacon at like a Renaissance festival or something. Had nothing to do with window film, but he kind of incorporates random stuff like that in, where it just drives to him as a presence, and then goes, all right, what does he do? And then you get people coming and falling into the wormhole that didn't plan on it.
Be authentic, put that out there, and just see what the results are. And this, I think almost everybody's probably heard this, niches make riches, right? Like be as niche as possible. But what the cool thing with social media, and like what Gary Vee does and what Carlos does, is be into a bunch of niches. Like what are you in? That's why we're talking about ultra running on here and the stuff that we're into, jiu-jitsu, whatever. Like, all right, cool. Not everybody cares. Like Gary Vee, there's people that follow him just because of his card collecting. There's people that follow him just for business. There's people that follow him just because he's a crazy Jets fan. There's you could list off 20 different reasons why people follow that dude. Because he puts it all out there. And he doesn't care if 90% of the audience doesn't care about this one video he put out where he's cursing. He's like, cool, fine. That video's not for you.
Exactly.
Awesome.
But this is me.
But there might be something else I say that you are into, and that's fine.
Totally. And I think going back to the beginning of our conversation is people buy into people. And it's like, okay, I'm looking at Green Valley, but if you guys are throwing in a little bit of your personality too, it's like, who's Josh? Who's Ricky? Like, I can relate to them too. Now I'm even more bought in to the business. So there has to be personality too. And I think even from a rep standpoint too, I don't always want to call and talk about what are you guys selling? What are you doing? How are you? How are the kids? How's life? I want to be person to person because that's how you build relationships. Yep. And I think that's why people stay and loyalty happens is I'm not just here as film and you guys are buying film. We're two people. Who are you? Who am I? Yep. And I think that's where I think people miss the mark sometimes. They forget that we're just two humans.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, totally. For sales, I think it's huge. Like, this is another thing I heard a long time ago from my ex-brother-in-law who did car sales that like really stuck with me. I probably heard it somewhere else first too, but you don't need to know a lot about anything, but know a little bit about a lot.
So true.
When you go out on a sales call and you see the person has Golden Knights stuff, like I'm into the Golden Knights, like I can easily talk to them about the Golden Knights. We're going to be talking about the Golden Knights.
Connection piece.
For sure. Like we're going to talk about window tint at some point, but like, were you at the Stanley Cup this last, like, I was at that game too. Like that's the conversation that matters more than what we're talking about.
Completely. It's like we would never go in and lead with U factors and teasers.
Yeah.
We're going to get there, sure. But it's like, if I'm going to a doctor, I don't want to know the name of the prescription. Just tell me why I need it and what it's going to do. And then while we're there, we're just two people talking. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, huge thing for any business growing.
Oh yeah, for relationships, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's to me, that's a very big key thing when it comes to even relationships between manufacturers to dealers.
Yeah.
Is usually it tends to where a lot of the big guys are is the relationships they have developed with their manufacturers, with their rep and people above them. It definitely comes down to relationship building.
And I think that's probably my most favorite part of, the tint off. When you go, usually the opening session is the panel of manufacturers. And I love going, especially because I work for a manufacturer, to go and see every single one of them side by side. You can see their personalities. You can see their energy they're bringing to the table. And then you go straight into a Q&A. It's what everyone wants to know. And you're able to kind of have a finger more on the pulse side by side and let people decide what they're going to resonate with. Yep. Same with like social media. It's this resonates with me more. This is the route I'm going to take.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all the main manufacturers, there's probably like 5 big guys that are all putting out equal quality products. Maybe one has something that the other one doesn't have for certain scenarios or whatever. But for the most part, the products are all pretty comparable.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it is, what kind of relationship are we going to build with those people, and do we vibe with them? And it's the same thing with our customers, right? So it's, I don't ever put down anybody else's film. There's a product out there for everything, and it's like, you know what? Like, they use that product. I tell people all the time. They say, "What do you think of Lumar?" Like, great product. Actually, their parent company makes all the raw material for almost everybody. So, like, I got no problem with them. They make great film. I've used it before. It's awesome. Like, if you select them, you're probably going to get a good film.
Absolutely. And I always say too, because people say, well, I'm interested in your line for X, Y, and Z to fill holes. I say no problem, because to me, flat glass is a recipe. Yep. And if I'm going to the spice cabinet and I want to grab a little of this, a little of that, it's going to work for that job. Yep. I can't say to somebody, you have to be exclusive. That's the only way we can have a relationship, because to me, that's not building the relationship. No. Saying, I know you might have a job that you might need a decorative film that I don't have. I can't stop you from growing your business. I'm here to support growing your business.
That's usually the one thing where if I'm talking with someone and a conversation ever gets to a point, well, you have to buy us or nothing. It's like you're now pushing in territory.
Especially for flat glass.
Especially for flat glass. That's where it usually pushes me into like uncomfortable territory. Yeah. Like, well, I don't like the fact that you're telling me what I can and can't do with my business.
Exactly.
So I don't enjoy that too much. But going with like when it comes to competitors' films against each other, like I had a customer that call and he was asking the difference between what we were selling, the other customer was selling. I was like, you want me to be honest? Like I tell everyone the same thing. Who's installing it? I was like, you can take the top products from everybody, like the 6 main players, and line them up. As long as they're that line of film across there, yes, there's going to be subtle differences. I could argue with you or argue with someone, this one's going to outperform this one because of this, that. But it's such a small little thing. Like, I'm going to sell you on the fact that it's who's installing your film when it comes down to it. Do you trust the companies installing what they're telling you installing you?
I agree with that.
That's what it comes down to. And it's like, I'm not going to sit there and bash any manufacturer's top end product or any product in general when it comes down to it, because they all are high performing products.
I agree.
And there are subtle differences, absolutely, but at the same time, they're all high performing. It's who's installing your film when it comes down to it.
It's exactly what you said. You can put a spec sheet and a price list right next to each other for 3 different manufacturers.
Goddamn close.
And it's like, yeah, if we're talking about just price, people get caught up in that all of the time. And I understand everyone has a bottom line.
Yep.
But also when somebody's saying I'm looking to completely switch my business model and I want a fresh start or anything like that, let's shift away from price. Let's figure out how we're building value as a manufacturer to you.
Help support you.
That you feel the support going out there, that I have confidence to sell it at anything.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, you don't care about my price list. You care about my relationship and what we're bringing to the table to help grow your business. So at the end of the day, those bids are going to be approved like that because it's not about price. And I think that's where everyone gets so caught up is just the cost chat.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, that's where building the value for me is the most gratifying challenge because it's just showcasing, product is product.
Yep.
But if you can come with good product and support, even better.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
100%.
that kind of ties it back to the whole reason for doing this and what I've seen being on sales while we've been going through business mentorship and looking at our numbers and realizing like maybe we should finally raise some prices here and there and being like worried to like, okay, we're going to raise the price. Let's see what happens. And like at the end of the day, the customer, okay, let's do it.
They don't flinch.
One piece of advice for the industry out there is like, you're probably undercharging. Especially if you've got
every day.
If you've got a solid brand and you've been in business for a while and you're putting up quality work and you got a good amount of Google reviews and they're like 4 point something whatever, you're probably out of fear of losing one install, undercharging.
I agree completely.
Like we've gotten to the point now where it's like we were like proud that we would have like 80% close rates on consultations, and it's like, yeah, but we were massively undercharging for what we do.
What you could have made.
Yeah,
And then you have a labor problem because now all 80% of those close. Now you got to get the 80% of those jobs done. So now you got to break your back to do it.
Yeah.
Instead of dropping that down to a 40% close rate, but actually pricing it correctly. And it's like, well, I'm still getting the same value, but I only have to worry about 40% of the work now. Yeah, that sounds a lot more enticing to me.
Exactly.
And then grow from there.
And then, as we all know, the natural ebb and flow that's going to happen with labor, if you're down and you're going through a labor shortage, you can be selective of what jobs you can take.
Yep.
But I think it's all just, as a rep going, I know that you might need to grow in these areas here to build your value. And it always comes down to confidence on what you're selling. And I think you guys passing that on to new labor too is extremely key. Because then they follow suit and then they do close a lot more. Because the confidence is what sells.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Well, actually, I think that's probably a good spot to wrap
Good
that
deal?
up. Oh, yeah.
All right.
I think we've been
I think that's perfect.
Sweet.
That's a perfect one.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks for having
taking
me. I
time with
appreciate
us.
it.
I know it's the first time we've actually got to sit down face to face. And actually, I kind of wanted it that way because I already knew, I already asked around and was kind of getting a little background on you beforehand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like the fact to be able to sit down and really just chop it up about the industry, and especially flat glass. That's like our big focus with this thing is literally to promote flat glass in any way possible. There's so much work out there, and there's so much the consumer does not know that we can even do as an industry, that there is zero reason why anyone should be fighting over work when we should just be growing the pie. And it comes down to there's so much work out there. Even if we all were tending it at capacity,
easy.
We're not denting it.
Easy.
Nowhere
And
near
I
it.
think you hit it where you said the hesitation too. If they always need something to push them over. And if it's somebody that goes, hey, I've been doing this for so long and we've seen, X, Y, and Z happen, that little push that gets them to do it. Otherwise, I think a lot of guys just stay right there on that line for so long. And it's like, why? Is it fear? Is it you don't want to do the work? Because the opportunity is there and then some.
It's the fear of failure, which in my eyes, that's natural. But at the same time, if you're not failing, I don't think you're trying hard enough.
And I agree. And sometimes you need to fail to grow. So,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Everybody, you know how this works. Please hit subscribe, follow along. We appreciate everyone joining us on this journey. Per usual, if you have any comments, you have any suggestions, don't hesitate to either DM us, comment below, but hit subscribe. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I will also say, if you're interested in coming on the podcast, DM us, comment below. We're looking for anybody in the industry that has a story to tell. They got something to promote. Anybody local in the Vegas area, any contractors, anybody that we've worked with before in the past, even family and friends. If you're interested in coming on and want to tell a story, DM us, let us know. We're interested to have you on and listen to your story and help tell it for you. Thank you.
All right.